Hello and welcome to the Global Dialogue. I'm Shereen Bhan and it is my pleasure to welcome back on the program the Global CEO of Mastercard, Michael Miebach, on his fourth visit to India in his capacity as CEO of Mastercard. Michael, always a pleasure. Many thanks for joining us here on CNBC-TV18. You know, fourth visit as CEO of Mastercard, but you're been visiting India for 20 plus years, 21 to be exact. And I know you are a believer in the India growth story. But let me start by asking you a big picture view on India. In all of your visits here over the last 20 years, what do you believe has been the most significant change?
So when I look at India, first of all, in the broader global ecosystem, I sense the sense of optimism about the India opportunity. So Mastercard isn't a standout from that perspective. We're deeply involved in the market, so we might have a deeper view than others. And from that perspective, what I've seen, particularly over the last 4 or 5 years, when previously at product in Mastercard and now at the CEO role, is this tremendous growth of the digital economy in India. So as India leverages technology to pull more people into a more inclusive digital economy, that's a real standout. That obviously is a tide that lifts everybody's boats, including Mastercard's, and we're happy to be on that journey. So I like that. Yesterday, we launched a very big facility in India. One of our 7 tech hubs has been launched in Pune. It's about 6,000 people there in a state-of-the-art facility. And the sentiment of our employees, first of all, there's excitement. They see the commitment to India with this investment, but there's also this excitement and the sense of opportunity, and we will find a solution, we'll find an opportunity. The level of ingenuity here is just infectious. So every time I come here, that is one thing to look forward to. There will be one new idea that I will find out about.
Did you pick up on a new idea yesterday?
Yeah, well, actually, we launched a big this new idea here only, when was it? The Global FinTech Festival. A few weeks back here, which was passkeys, which is basically biometric authentication for online commerce. Might not sound very exciting to most people listening to this. I find it personally very exciting because it makes something very complex very easy and very safe. You're online and you know it will just work, and you just can rely on that. I thought that is a very exciting idea, and it was first launched in India.
Well, I will come to the launches in India and what India is likely to do for Mastercard in terms of powering your global solutions. But coming back to Pune, as well as your aspiration for India, you talked about the 7 global tech hubs that you have. I believe this is going to be your largest facility for Mastercard globally. As you were allocating resources, what made you want to double down on India?
Right. So we have been in India for 40 years as a company. We've been bringing our payment solutions here. We set up our initial facility in Pune 10 years ago. So we have 10 years of experience with our ability to attract the best talent in the country, to attract talent that allows us to co-innovate out of India, catering to some of these special situation, where everything in India has to work at scale. Now, this makes it a very unique market. We're a business that's all about scale. We're in 200 plus countries, so learning about scale and having employees that, have that mindset sets India apart versus some of our other tech hubs where we do other things really well. We've learned over 10 years on how these tech hubs can work with each other, and it is a global network of innovating tech hubs. Follow the sun model, spanning the globe. And we said, okay, we're going to double down here because we have the talent, we have the scale aspect, and we have this aspect of, coming back to the culture point that I made earlier, the ingenuity is just really strong here. So puts us in a position to do that, and we feel very welcome because for 40 years now, there's a strong partnership with the government here, with the fintech sector. So for all of those reasons, I can go on, but we made a decision, and it's a commitment to India, but it's also a commitment to innovation and what we do around the globe.
Can you quantify the commitment in terms of the incremental investments that this will entail in this new facility, this expansion that you have announced, as well as what we could expect over the next 5 years from MasterCard?
So over the last 5 years, we invested $1 billion here. This project's been, we opened it yesterday, but, it's been a 2.5-year kind of construction project, absolutely state-of-the-art of employee experience. So we expect the staff number to grow in India, and it's been laid out for that. So many more opportunities that we will be investing in.
Well, speaking of opportunities, and you talked about collaborating with the thriving fintech ecosystem in India. Take me through what excites you about what's happening there. Also, what worries you? Because, the pace of change is significant and the pace of innovation is pretty remarkable as well. So both from an opportunity point of view, but also a threat point of view, how do you look at that?
So we started off talking about us being bullish, me personally being bullish on the India opportunity. I had a first-hand experience to see that it's not just us. At the Leadership Summit of the U.S.-India Strategic Partnership Forum, I'm on the board there. I'm also on the board of the U.S.-India CEO Forum. So a lot of perspective. So you've got a
ringside view on what CEOs are saying.
A lot of perspective of what others are thinking. And when it comes to the startup community, India has a super strong startup ecosystem. It really fueled that. Fintech in particular is strong. So at the Leadership Summit, we had a few unicorns on stage, and they were talking about their growth story from a government support perspective, from a regulatory perspective, from a funding perspective. So here's a government that really is able to mobilize funding. So from that perspective, that's an important sector for us to engage in. What do? We are a fintech, a very large one, but we are a fintech. And we're engaging with other fintechs, helping them with our payment solutions. So giving you an example, take the world of credit-based solutions. So in India, there's a tremendous opportunity to further democratize the access to credit. There's a lot of businesses that innovate around that. In the end, money has to flow. Payment solutions are needed for that. Data is needed for that to assess credit and make that easier for banks. So we provide those solutions. There's a whole opportunity in the world of commercial payments. There's a lot of fintechs that focus on helping businesses digitize their processes, enable reconciliation of data, engage their customers in a better way. Those are all solutions that we provide for years on consumer engagement, on customer engagement, on data management. And all of this, everyone in the sector needs one thing. In an ever more digitizing world where the digital economy becomes like the economy, cybersecurity rises to the top. And that's a big part of how we engage with the ecosystem as well. That's a strong suit of MasterCard for many years.
I also want to understand from you, how you look at UPI. And I know that when we've previously spoken about it, you've always said that you don't consider it as a threat because you believe that it's actually opening up India's digital economy so that it's widening the pie or deepening the market, so to speak. That might be the picture now, but as you look out into the future, how do you brace yourself? How do you create moats around yourself as UPI becomes more and more ubiquitous?
Right. I don't personally like the term moat that much, but it comes to the notion of who makes a decision. A consumer makes a decision, a business makes a decision, what kind of payment solutions they will use. And there will be different use cases. I want to get money from A to B in a very quick and fast and cheap and efficient way. That might be one set of solutions. On the other hand, I might want to have a data-rich solutions. I might want to have a solution that works across borders. I might want to have a solution that works for me as a business vis-a-vis me as a consumer. All of those are a whole different set of use cases. And we want to provide for each and every one of these instances that I just gave the best solutions, and people choose MasterCard. That's competition, that's choice, that's what we do. And, with the digital economy in India opening up, UPI has done a tremendous job. Aadhaar, everybody has an identity. This is all used. The passkey solution I mentioned earlier is based on the fact that there is a biometric identity to start with. We're now using that, and we're putting it across different use cases, including e-commerce. So what I see in the end is a much larger pie And within that much larger pie, there will be UPI transactions, there will be card transactions, there will be transactions we can't even think of today. So we kind of keep innovating and keep competing. So I stick to my point that I said to you last time, that it is an opportunity because the pie keeps growing. The private sector over the years hasn't solved that. With the rise of UPI and Aadhaar and the India tech stack, the opportunity did get bigger, and we feel welcomed. We're part of the India journey. And, it's a strong public-private partnership as well. We're engaged with the government on cybersecurity. So there's various aspects on how we contribute to this overall opportunity. It's not just payment solutions.
You know, the U.S. market, and I remember in Davos, you said that the outlook was that there is going to be global expansion in 2024. That was the forecast as far as the Mastercard Economic Institute was concerned. Right. And we've seen many developments since then, including the Fed finally moving on cutting rates. What's your sense on what this could potentially mean now in terms of consumer spending?
Right. So what I said in January at the World Economic Forum was that we see a resilient consumer, which is the base of a lot of our business. And that's held true throughout the year. So in our last earnings call, second quarter earnings call, yet again, we saw a resilient consumer globally in aggregate in the key markets. It's a discerning consumer. What does that mean? People make decisions, non-discretionary, discretionary spend, they balance, but in aggregate, we see pretty steady spending. This morning, I woke up to earnings from major U.S. banks. Yes. A lot of investors look at the U.S. economy and see that as a bit of a barometer, and we see strong consumer spending continuing as far as those banks are concerned. So overall, the macro picture on the consumer side is pretty benign, but it's also true that rates still remain elevated, prices still remain elevated. So we have to see what the various landing paths are in the major economies around the world. So we keep monitoring central bank reactions and moves as they're trying to get back into the target range for inflation. But overall, the consumer yet again has adjusted over those last 2 years or so and made those trade-offs. One thing that was exciting to see this summer is, so this was the summer of travel, the summer of experiences. We have different categories of spend that we can aggregate and where we can see that. Travel, very strong this summer. Europe in particular, very strong. Singapore, very strong. So you look across that, people want to go and do exciting things, do that trip, go and see a show and all of that, and it's showing in our categories of spend. 2 years ago, it was all about goods. Now it's all about services. The service economy is booming. That is a fundamentally global trend. And if we look specifically at India, the same, we see the same strength in consumer spending here.
You were talking about spending, and a data point that I picked up on this morning, and it's coming from the U.S. Retail Federation, talking about close to $1 trillion this holiday season coming up in winter. That's the kind of estimate that they're working with or forecasting, and that's higher year on year. What are some of the other headlines that you're picking up from the consumer trends, the consumption trends from across the world? You talked about how services is the big boost, and the experience economy is going through its own sort of surge. What are some of the other crucial trends that you're picking up that you're going to be focused on?
So the Mastercard Economic Institute projected holiday spending this year, very much in line with the retail report that you just said. So that's an exciting headline as we look ahead. And it fits with everything that I just said on the consumer sentiment. We believe the services economy and the spending on experiences will continue. Travel will be continuing. I think the other thing to look at, it's a picture in aggregate. So if you look at different countries around the world, it's not exactly the same situation because central bank reactions will be different across income bands. Pressures are felt in different ways at lower income bands. So those are just things that one needs to monitor and look for, but the headlines are fundamentally positive around consumer spending, and I think that's the one key point to keep in mind, because if the consumer is doing well, I don't think we have to worry that much about the economy overall.